how to understand and interpret compromise and transformation. As you see, well, they may have plenty of interpretations. But of course, not in every political situation they will be understood in the same way. So the floor is open to discussion right now.
Okay. Well, maybe you need a break and then. Maybe you will start, Doctor. You will start and then you will encounter.
Any of you, all your ideas regarding transformation?
In general.
Thank you very much. Very informative lecture, especially on the transformation. And I also recall meeting Adam Miknik because my first visit to Poland was his invitation. So it was a great pleasure to also hear about how Gazeta Wyborcza really stand out in Poland and how it was the voice of opinion. And I think that is exactly what we are also observing in this country, not to the extent that the Gazeta Wyborcza, but the media, the role of media in the transformation, which is also another very critical issues that we sometimes discuss among scholars, also in informal discussions. Because what we see here is the media is really compartmental into different political parties or different views. And there is a crisis or a real crisis in really understanding what is the information is exactly, or what is the real information. Right? That's always a very important decision that a leader has to make. What is right, what is wrong.
And I changed my, I moved to Polish press agency when I started, because I realized that the only journalism that I understand, the journalism this journalism that became a passion for me, means that journalism means to inform people, not to entertain them. The only place that I can seriously do this kind of job is a newswire, is a press agency. So, unfortunately, I'm not a competent person. I'm a refugee. And Nepal was that you always had maybe not 100% free newspapers, but I remember in Poland such newspapers did not exist. So, martial law and independent newspapers. I asked the Pakistan, how is it possible that you have the martial law and the dictator in the uniform and still you have the freedom of the press? So you were not in such a bad situation at the very beginning, because there were the newspapers who were not only entertaining, but so if we only try to entertain or to try to well, I don't know, it's like entertainment. It's two kinds of entertainment, right? It's a horror stories and romantic comedies. Journalism rather would focus on the horror stories. So after 1 year or 2 years reading only these newspapers and watching these reports on TV, you will move out of your country because you will be afraid to live in such a state. I think it's the same situation in Poland, with Germany. This is the problem with the journalism in this time. I would say that this commercializations of information is really a risky thing, and I think that we do not discuss this subject enough seriously in Poland. Perhaps this is the same case in Nepal.
Do you think whether they will have a better autonomy and what will be its impact on the rest of the provinces in Poland? Thank you.
Much earlier, Poland was a very multi-religious, multi-ethnic country with many languages spoken. Polish was one of them, maybe the most important language, but that was not the only language being spoken in Poland. Yes, after the Second World War, the country, the shape of the country changed, and changed radically. So that was a radical transformation. It's not very easy to live in one period what can be characterized by radical transformation. Then you jump into another epoch, and then you get another radical transformation. So that transformation is becoming part of your existence. The language they speak is very close to Polish. We call it in fact a dialect. But of course we can easily recognize who the Silesian is. They, of course, were able to retain their own separate tradition, separate culture, even the language. Well, they may call it a language, some linguists will call it a dialect, but anyway, so their own speech as well, I mean, how they, and then that's quite important, because the language, the dialect that they used at home was ridiculed at schools. You know, that was not very fashionable to use it at school. At school, everyone was supposed to use the standard language, the standard Polish. If they started speaking, you know, that dialect, they were ridiculed by the teachers. And of course, if you feel that something is suppressed, then you demand more. Nowadays, I don't think that's a very serious issue. Yes, of course, nowadays people in Silesia, they demand a bit more. Who is better Polish person? It's always like that. In many countries, you know, in India, probably Nepal, the European countries, nowadays people, well, they keep asking the same question. What does it mean to be French? With the same symbols that were so respected by our forefathers? Do you want to keep them right here? Or maybe you want to transform them? That's even more important. And the question that you ask about autonomy, about different minorities or different communities that are demanding more autonomy, once again, that's the question of identity. Because, you know, so far, we haven't experienced that so acutely as it is the case in other countries. And then I remember what one of the very eminent, then I hesitated for a while, because I don't know how to describe him, Amin Malouf. He is living right now in France, but he was born in Lebanon, and his mother tongue was Arabic. But nowadays he publishes all his books in French. But in the Arabic world, he was a member of a minority. Yeah, so that's this question. Is it a contradiction to be, for example, a Silesian and Polish? Maybe not really. Is it a contradiction to be French and, let's say, or British and Indian at the same time? I don't think so. You know, I suppose for many of us, Ryszard Kapuściński, famous writer, journalist, was a master. And once he said, you know, when I'm returning from Africa or Asia, and when I land in Europe, my first, in Rome, in London, in Berlin, I say to myself, okay, I'm home again. I have landed, and that's my home. Then I travel from Rome or Paris to Warsaw. Then that's another home. Once again, I'm more at home. And then I travel to, well, let's say to the town where I live, and that's my final home. So we may have homes which are located in different levels. And probably that's also true with you. And probably in Nepal, probably you've got that perfect, you know, understanding of several identities, right? Because there are so many different communities, identities. And once we are aware of that, and probably, once again, it is the final result of an internal compromise in our own psyche, yeah? So I can be Polish, I can be Silesian, I can be European, I can be Christian, or I can be Muslim.
Now, we, Nepal, or Nepalese being in such a situation of transformation, we are in a process, not in a final moment. So, just to provide some kind of, you know, sympathetic consolation for us, can you please elaborate the process from end up from depression to smile, like you are having it? Thank you very much.
Because it is, if you get the 4-digit, you know, inflation rate, it is quite easy just to reach like a 3 and then 2-digit inflation rate. It's not very complicated, and of course, you know, you can find the solutions. But the most difficult point is how to achieve the one just digit inflation. Generally, of course, that was Mr. Leszek Balcerowicz and his closely associated with the whole reforming process. Economy, unfortunately, not only generates jobs and employment, that it must bring profits. And that's the point. So if you have plants that cannot generate profits, generally you should shut them down. And that would be very painful. I would say that people in Poland, imagine that thousands of people lost their jobs. And they did a standard revolution. Because at that time they trusted, they believed that one day they would become beneficiaries of that change. I suppose that transformation would be possible if you have social peace. Because without having that sort of a social compromise and acceptance by the citizens of your own country, I don't think you can succeed. Because nowadays, if you look at other countries like Spain, Greece, and other countries, you can understand that people, well, they are not able to accept austerity measures, which are being implemented right now. So I suppose that the social dimension is extremely important. Because generally, yes, we know which certain steps must be taken, just to have a very healthy, robust economy. So yes, that's profitability. You must have a very good banking sector. And then, it's always quite risky, and nowadays we are talking about it. Because our almost whole banking sector belongs to a foreign capital. We didn't have a big choice to go hand in hand with solidarity, the real solidarity of the state. Otherwise, you will not succeed. There's a famous saying that there was one American, Asian, and a tiger. And the tiger appeared in the desert. The American wanted to fight against the tiger. The Asian guy wanted to run as fast as possible. And the American said, "Oh, come on, why do you want to run? You cannot run faster, much faster than the tiger." But the Asian replied, "Yes, but I can run faster than you." That's the point. That's the point. So competition is quite right, that by the end of the day, you may lose if you don't have that concept of solidarity in your own mind. So these are the prerequisites of the success. Because, once again, if you only focus on the very pure economic aspect, then you risk that social discomfort that sooner or later will have a very bad influence on the final result of the process of transformation. So that's my point.
Second question is that Poland also been in the transition period, and how the Poland and Polish people handle this transformation. And this, you are being very close to Nepal also, then what do you feel that which part of society, whether it is politicians or academicians or students, will play the vital role in this transformation period?
I'm a great revolutionary and I will change the society. Yeah, that's not possible because of millions of different bonds, links in the society itself. And maybe you are not aware of all these links, bonds, elements. It's very, very difficult. And if you ask about the time frame, once again, I said, any government that is serious about the big reform generally has 2 years. And I believe it is a universal formula. Because, people after the election, okay, they might think, right, now we've got the right government, okay, we have elected these people, they are our representatives, and somehow we may offer to that government a portion of our patience. We may be patient, but people's patience is not unlimited. It is limited. I believe there are countries, they may lose patience after 3 years or 4 years, but once again, it depends. Then, there are external factors, and if you ask me about that, in case of Poland, we have been quite fortunate because we were offered a very big financial support from the European Union. That was a real big financial support. So, this time frame, well, that could be shorter. Otherwise, we may have needed a bit longer period of time within which that transformation could take place. And then, I believe that if you start that process of transformation, so you change a lot of elements in the society, you must remember that you must have a very inclusive transformation. You must include, if it is exclusive, if people think I'm not a member of that, I cannot become part of that transformation, then you will make an enemy in that person. Of course, once again, easier said than done. That I will always emphasize that must be a very inclusive transformation. As inclusive as possible. Because any person must have that sense of belonging. But once again, easier said than done.
This is just the beginning, and soon you will be able to see at the Kathmandu International Mountain Festival a Polish documentary, Art of Freedom, which actually shows another connection of between Poland and Nepal and Himalayas, when during the socialist times Himalayas were the dream of the Polish climbers who were receiving and getting enormous results almost without any backup. And this is the most beautiful period of Polish Himalayism in the 70s. So I would like you to go and see the film, if you can, on the 9th of December. The Polish filmmaker is coming to Kathmandu. And next year, I think we'll be continuing our collaboration with the college and also with different festivals. I brought some program guides, so they will be given around and also study in Poland, because even Wojtek said that we still have some problem with English. There's actually 400 different studies in Poland, courses, BA and MA in English.
And my sincere thanks to Wojciech Galeski and Madam Grażyna Galeski and Mr. Piotr Klodkowski and Madam Beata Hera, all the way from Poland to make this program successful. Thank you very much. And I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Professor Mr. Manish Thapar and Professor Dr. Khagendra Oja and Uni Global College family. Without those support, this wonderful interaction program would not have been possible. I hope this event will further strengthen Nepal-Poland relationship. Thank you. Thank you once again for being with us this evening. Thank you very much. Long live Poland-Nepal friendship and bilateral relations. Thank you very much.